Post says, do not wash your paws in the pool of sacred tears. I'm putting that on my cork board.
Tweet it.
I'm tweeting it.
Tweeting it. Oh my gosh. Mine is, your modesty will shame those with lesser knowledge.
You're not modest.
I am very modest. Anyways, welcome to Two Peas in a Podcast. My name is Razzator, but you can call me Raz for short.
And I'm Sarah Fantastic.
And if you couldn't tell, we had fortune cookies in the beginning. If you thought we were just rang random rings, saying random things, that is what was supposed to come out of my mouth at that moment. Welcome to episode 7. We are well on our way to becoming an official podcast.
I can't see this to type it out while I'm typing.
I was about to make a terrible pun. Okay, I'm just going to do it anyways. You can't see fortune cookies. They're in the future.
What does that even mean?
I was trying to get the future, but fortune and future don't make the same noises. I was like, it's in the future.
You do understand a pun is whenever two words make the same noises, but they have different meanings.
That's not the only type of pun. It's a very narrow pun. I don't know what that means.
Okay, stick to the script from now on. That's what we learned.
Okay, so anyways, this episode is going to be on Shingeki no Kyojin, which is known for weeaboos like me as Attack on Titan, because whenever I search for it on anime sites, I can't freaking find it. But no, it's great. We should get sponsored by an anime site, but we don't have enough viewers for that.
We don't have enough anything for that. This is our first anime episode.
That's great. Yeah, so we're going to talk about Attack on Titan. Obviously, huge spoiler alert for major plot things from Season 1. Spoiler alert, there's no Season 2 yet.
But we will be talking about news about Season 2 that has come out recently, along with the live-action movies that released in Japan last August and September, and in the United States in September and October in select theaters. Yep. Which I haven't seen. I don't know about.
I have not seen the movies, actually. We're just going to talk about them. Because that's what you do, right? So, as always, we always do Fancy Sock Fridays, because why the frick not? So, what do your socks look like, Sarah?
So, the sock on my left foot is a Disney screen print sock. It's got Olaf on a summer...
double dipping. You can't wear two different socks all the time.
I don't ever match my socks, and this morning I was too tired. So it's Olaf on a summer background, just enjoying his personal snowstorm, being cute. And then on my right foot, it is a sock that looks like a Converse sneaker, and it has purple stars on the bottom. And it's green and blue.
So I actually took off my socks because I was hot, and apparently I'm wearing no socks, but I have very boring black Argyle socks. I mean, Argyle are kind of fun, but they're like black and gray Argyle, so they're not even like a fun color. So I apologize for my boring socks.
You should just wear like two different colored socks. You have like a black Argyle and then like a pink Argyle.
I was gonna go home and change them, but then I would be like Sarah, who changes her socks for Fancy Sock Friday, just to lie to our listeners.
That doesn't even make any sense, Raz.
It's true. So we also, in our introduction before we get into the main thrust of the podcast, we always tell a story about ourselves. Do you want to tell your story first? And is your story what I have on the outline, or is it different?
We're going off the outline again.
You told us not to do that, but go for it.
So I today am wearing a Breadsticks Nation t-shirt, which, if you don't know, is the Olive Garden 2015 t-shirts that they gave out to their employees. You might not know about me. I do not work at Olive Garden. I got this t-shirt from my roommate because I stole it from her, because I like breadsticks. But the best part is I recently wrote a little blog post for our school's literature magazine website. And, we write a lot of, highbrow stuff, like how to edit papers and how to be a good writer and stuff. But I wrote my blog on the arc of the breadstick meme. So if you want to go read a blog post that has lots of terrible puns in it and lots of breadstick memes, which are now extinct, R.I.P., RIP, breadstick meme, you can go to our school website and find it.
Or not.
Or I'll link to it.
That'd be creepy.
On Pinterest.
Then they'll know where we go to school.
But it's a good blog post.
No, it's not. I'm just kidding.
Tell your dumb story.
You should just repost it to our social media.
Oh, that makes more sense.
So my story is from my childhood when I was a child. I'm trying to fill up words like when you're writing a paper. Relatable.
Hashtag same.
So when I was a child, I had certain words that I always thought were curse words. And later in life, I found out that some of them were not curse words. But how I found out one of these was not was we had a basement growing up that was unfinished. And it was where we had all our toys and our schoolroom and everything. And so we had heard the bell ring for dinner. And so my brother and I were running up the stairs. And of course, being the young kids that we were, my brother pushed me out of the way. And when he pushed me out of the way, I said, "You almost made me say a bad word." And then I said, "You almost made me say, oh, for Pete's sake." And so for a while growing up, I thought that Pete's sake was a cuss word. Get off Twitter, Sarah. You're being distracted.
It is a curse word, and you
Pete's
said
sake
it twice.
is not a curse word.
We're gonna have to invent the bleep button.
I don't think we're inventing it. I think the censoring thing has been around for a while, and I could literally just edit it out instead of censoring it. Oh, that's funny.
This is a train wreck. I love it.
We haven't even gotten to the main part of the podcast. Okay, those are our stories. You're welcome. You know a little bit more about us and the crazy things that happen in our lives.
Mm-hmm. All right, so in the notes for our next segment, it says in all caps, huge spoiler alert. Do not listen if you don't want Attack on Titan spoiled. So you have been alerted.
And warned.
And spoiled.
Sufficiently. You've been warned twice now, so too late. We're doing it. The main segment of the show.
Do you want to do the first point?
Sure. Oh, no, this is your saying. I can't do the first point.
Technically, it's not my saying. I got it from Tumblr. But
well, it's close to your saying.
If you want an accurate description of Attack on Titan uses blood, like shoujo animes use cherry blossoms for aesthetic balance, I guess.
Yeah.
And so, obviously, this show is not a shoujo anime.
It's also not for children. So don't.
Fair.
Just because it's a cartoon, don't think it's for children. Okay, so I think it's really good. You have things about the show and manga to talk about that I don't actually know about. So you should talk about those things.
So, I was really excited last year around November, December, because they announced that the second season should start somewhere June, July 2016. But just very recently, as of 3 days ago, there was an announcement that they haven't even started animating it yet because they're waiting for the manga to get 4 story arcs ahead of where the anime left off at so that they won't have any filler episodes. Because one thing I really did like about Attack on Titan was there were no filler episodes.
Mm-hmm.
It was just very straightforward plot-wise. And if you binge watched it on an anime site all at once, it was just one clean story arc, which was really nice. So they're waiting. They just are finishing up the second or the third story arc. So I'm kind of sad about that, but I'm also really excited that they want to do a really good job with it. Also, there was 2 movies that came out last year.
Oh, yeah. So all I've heard about the movies is that they were terrible.
I've heard that they were bad by people who really loved Attack on Titan, the manga, and the anime. But I also have heard that for what they are, they're really good. And the animation for the Titans and stuff is amazing. And that the action sequences are really cool. So, I still think we should watch it at some point.
Yeah, we should definitely look into it. So, the next part that we wanted to talk about with Attack on Titan, I think is one of the best parts, as with any anime, is the anime opening progression.
Yes.
So far we've had 2. And I think most people's experience is like ours, to where I remember when I was first watching the show, the first one is just so good.
It's so intense.
It has this like Latin choir in the background who's just going crazy.
And it's got like,
and then it has
German words.
Yep.
Yeah, it makes you want to like sing along, but literally the only word anyone knows is Jaeger.
It's great. I love that they had the English voice actors who play the characters for the dub version. When they were at a Comic-Con panel, even they couldn't sing any of the opening until Jaeger. And it was great.
That's my favorite part, is just to like, you're just listening and you're just waiting to scream Jaeger. Because you've got so much energy from this opening and the chanting in the background. But I have terrible rhythm. So I always said it either way too early or way too late.
Oh, it's great. Yeah, so that's always fun. The second opening, at least for most people, like the first opening is so good.
It's so intense.
That you get to the second opening and you're like, I don't know if I like this. It's almost like a strange, like, imperial song.
Like a victory chant or something.
Yeah, so it was the same, I think, for both of us, where it took us a few episodes to get into it.
I didn't like it at first. I wanted the old one back, but that's how I always am. And I really liked it because, like, after watching it, you're like, oh, like, that it's setting you up to be like, this is a victory march, like the opening screenshot is like them riding out of the city to go fight the Titans and to win. And you're like, oh, they're gonna beat them. It's gonna be great. And then it's just like a slaughter, just a massacre.
It's true. Yeah, so like, it gets rough.
Delayed expectations.
Season 1 is intense. Yeah, so we're going to talk a bit about the ending of Season 1, specifically the post-credit scene, which I had not seen until today. I had just never even looked.
What I have learned about anime is that there's going to be, at the end of the season, there's going to be like a little scene at the end that's either going to make everything okay or make everything terrible. And one day I will tell you all the story about how I learned that. And the year I spent in misery before I learned that.
Oh, man. So, anyways, what happens in this ending is that the innermost wall, which isn't Wall Maria, there's another name for it, which I could look up because we both have laptops.
I'll look it up. Keep talking.
Yeah, so in that innermost wall, which has the smallest area that it encircles, and it's where the capital city is and the most important people are, there's a part of the wall that's like crumbling. And all of a sudden, you see part of the wall like fall off, basically. And then behind that is just the face of one of the giant titans. And so we have no idea what in the world is going on with that. Why are there titans in that wall? Why are there titans in any wall? What in the world? Did you find it?
So I'm looking, but my internet is not nice.
Oh, RIP internet. Did you have anything else that you wanted to talk about with that cliffhanger ending?
I remember watching it, and Attack on Titan is an emotional roller coaster, like, the whole time. And so, like, I got to that, like, up until that point, like, the last scene of the episode, I was like, okay, like, this is a good ending. Like, it's calmed down. Like, I'm not stressed out waiting for the next season. Like, I'm excited for the next season, but I'm not stressed out. And then I was, dancing through the closing song, because that's what you do. And then that scene came on, and my life was wrecked.
I'm so ready for season 2. It's going to be so good.
Pretty much.
So, did you want to talk about just some of the things that you experienced in the show?
Well, I can talk about my frustration with figuring out who the female Titan was.
Oh, yeah, let's talk about
Because I spent I was texting one of our friends who had already watched it, and I was like, it's gotta be Annie. Like, it has to be Annie. Like, that's the only person it could be. And she's like, well, just watch and see. And I'm like, okay, well, it's not Annie.
Wasn't that me that you were texting?
I was texting you, but I was also texting somebody else.
Oh. Well, I was like, why are you referring to me as a she, you jerk?
You hadn't seen it. Maybe you had at that point.
I saw it way before you.
Okay, sorry. But I was texting someone else, and they were like, just watch it. And, so I was trying to, I was listing all these reasons why it couldn't be Annie, and then finally I was like, it has to be Annie because of that nose. Like, Annie's nose is just so prominent. It has to be Annie because of the nose.
So, you just knows it's Annie.
And that, dear listeners, is the pun of the day.
Cheesy as always, which is
terrible.
What you come to expect from us. Alright, so anyways, that is a great part of our episode. We also wanted to talk about our favorite characters, which really just ended up to us wanting to talk about characters on the show. Because Sarah and I both have our most favorite character, and we actually have the same one. And then we also have our favorite character. And then our other favorite characters are some of the other main characters on the show. So it's just great. So the first character that we both wanted to talk about, and that is our favorite, her name is Hanji.
Well, I wouldn't call her.
Okay, their name is Hanji.
Hanji is the best because, Hanji is just obsessed with Titans and is in love with Titans. And so, oh gosh, I'm going to call her a she now and be embarrassed because that's just how it works. In the show, she is female, but in the manga, the author refuses to say what gender this character is because it's kind of really confusing, and I feel like it'll have something to do with, the ending.
Yeah.
Somehow.
The ending.
But Hanji is, just way too excited about these things that are trying to, just eat people mercilessly.
I remember one of the episodes, they actually capture some Titans, and she's, watching them. And one of them almost, bites her and kills her instantly. She's like, oh, you almost got me there, didn't you?
She just loves... And also, I think it's really insensitive but hilarious because the names of the two Titans they capture, she names them Sunny and Bean. And Sunny Bean was, one of the most notorious cannibals who lived somewhere in the United States somewhere.
Oh my gosh.
And they study Sunny Bean in Japan in, psychology and stuff.
Oh my gosh.
So it's a little insensitive but hilarious, I think.
That's amazing. So our favorite character, but not our favorite character, is is Levi, because Levi Senpai.
Oh my gosh,
is
Senpai.
So good.
Levi is one of my favorite characters because he's very cold and standoffish, and he has these moments where you're like, oh, he's gonna, soften up, and he's gonna, show that he cares about these characters. There's this one scene where Eren is, on trial or something. The main character is on trial for something. I don't know, it's probably because he can turn into a Titan or something. He's on trial, and he's, tied up and stuff, and he's in front of a jury, and Levi, walks up to him and is, questioning him, and you're like, oh, he's gonna be, super soft and fatherly, and he's gonna be the senpai we all know he is, and then he just starts, beating him up, just kicking him, and, just almost killing him.
Yep.
Just so violent. And I think that's just why I love Levi, because... you're like, oh, he's gonna be senpai now, and then he just, tears you apart.
And then there's just this scene when they get to that, training house for the, oh my gosh, what is their squad called? For the scouting squad?
Yeah.
They get to the training house, and they're like, alright, time to clean.
Oh
and
God.
All of a sudden, you see this scene where Levi opens the window that goes out, and he's wearing, a maid hat and a mask, and it's
Yes.
just hilarious.
Yes. Levi, he
And
has
Levi
an obsession
is a
with
clean
cleaning.
freak.
Some people have talked about how like he's OCD about cleanliness because of all the people he's seen die, because he is one of the people who has survived the scouting squad the longest.
Yeah.
And so I think it's just Levi's character is really interesting. He's really dark. He also shows mercy. I think the scene that broke my heart the most was whenever they were coming back from their scouting expedition out, where they took everybody out and got massacred, and he's coming back and he had lost his entire squad, and he comes back in and he sees the father of one of the squad members, and there's this flashback scene where the father was like, oh, my daughter loves you, and I hope that whenever y'all return from this, that I can speak with you about your engagement, and like this whole like subplot of like romance, like she was like, oh, senpai, I love you, and they were gonna freaking get married, and then like she dies in a very horrible way, and then you have that flashback scene afterwards, so it just makes it worse.
Yep.
I think that's one of the reasons why everybody actually hates the live action movies.
Why did Annie ruin everybody?
Because they didn't include Levi in the cast.
That's true. That's a terrible thing. Did they have Hanji either? I don't think they had Levi or Hanji.
They might have had Hanji, but I know they definitely didn't have Levi.
Yeah, if you don't have Levi, it's not Attack on Titan. So our next favorite character, who's not our favorite or our favorite, is Mikasa. Because if you've ever watched Attack on Titan at all, you know that her name will be shouted quite a lot, along with Eren and along with Armin. Those are the names that get shouted most often.
Well, also, Mikasa!
Mikasa!
Like, anytime anyone's in trouble, they just yell for Mikasa to come save them.
It's great. So, I want to compare her to Eren, mainly because we can go ahead and talk about Eren now.
Yeah,
But
that's
the
fine.
two things that I've really noticed about the show are that Eren thinks he can do everything, and he can't. Mikasa can do everything, but she doesn't act like it. And so Eren's always the one who's like, we have to stand up to the Titans and go fight them and murder them all. And then he goes out, and the very first time a Titan attacks, he dies.
Yeah, like...
And Mikasa is the one who's, like, actually fine and survives everything.
I think it's really interesting that everybody compares Mikasa to Levi with her fighting skill.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, she's, like, a natural. Also, I think one thing I love about this show, like, it teases that Eren has more potential than he shows, like, whenever he's wearing the harness for the first time and it keeps falling on his face.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, the harness is broken, and
Yep.
he stayed up with the harness not broken. But then, like, in the next episode when he has a perfectly fine working 3DM machine, like, he just, like, falls into a wall or something. Like,
Yeah.
It's terrible. So it's like, oh, he's better. No, he's not.
He's not actually that great. So another one of our favorite characters that I'll let you talk about.
Oh, before we move on, I just wanted to talk about, I don't know if you saw this, but I posted on our Pinterest, like, on our Guest This Week's podcast, I posted one where this, like, person is laying in bed sleeping and the spider crawls up next to him, and then they go all Attack on Titan on it, and the person who had it before me said, I too become Eren when I see a spider, and I wrote, you probably don't kill a lot of spiders then.
That's amazing.
Because everyone makes fun of Eren for that.
Yep.
Okay, now we can move on.
So you wanted to talk about this character, and you keep getting distracted, so you never look at the outline.
I'm looking at the outline right now, and we're going to talk about Sasha. Sasha is actually probably, like, Hanji and Levi are tied for my favorite, and then it's Sasha, because Sasha is known as the Potato Girl. And the reason why she's known as a Potato Girl is during the first day of training, she is late to training, and she shows up with a, like, steamed boiled potato in hand, and the trainer guy, like, is, like right up in her face, yelling at her, and she's just, like, calmly eating this potato, and he's like, why? What were you doing? And she was like, I'm hungry. So I stopped and got a potato, because I felt like it would be a waste. If we fight Titans today and die, then all these steamed potatoes would be a waste, because I didn't get to eat one. Then she breaks it in half, but it's more like she breaks it into, like, 1/4 and 3/4, and she offers him the smaller part, and she's like, you can have a bite. And then he, like, like hits her or something.
It was
it's
great. I mean, he makes her run like forever laps.
And when she misses dinner, and when she comes back, someone had saved her a piece of bread.
Yes.
And, like, she had, like, demon eyes when she was chasing the bread. So I don't know why she's called Potato Girl and not Bread Girl.
Great.
But she's always eating food. Like, even whenever, like, they went out and were standing guard, like, when she was standing on the trees, like, standing guard watching the Titans and stuff, I think she was, like, eating something or talking about
Yeah,
being
she eats
hungry.
all the time.
And I'm like, you are my spirit animal.
You are my
character.
life. So, the last character that we're going to talk about is Armin. And Armin is amazing. Like, he's this blonde guy, and a lot of people hate Armin because he can't defend himself very well, and he's not very good at killing Titans. And so I know a lot of people who actually don't like Armin. And I'm like, no, that actually works. Armin has this incredible mind for strategy and can do a really great job of planning out things and seeing how things are supposed to work. But he gets so overcome by fear in the face of Titans, which, to be fair, if you're facing this thing that is the size of a building to a skyscraper, then you're gonna be pretty freaked out when you're fighting it.
Yeah.
So for me, I think it actually really portrays that kind of human characteristic of a lot of people, is that this fear takes over them in the heat of battle, but they're really, really even-minded and even brilliantly minded outside of it.
Yeah, I think that's really good. I do want to talk. Do we have time to talk about like two other characters like in sync?
If we go quickly, we're getting close to our time limit.
We don't even have a time limit. So I wanted to talk about Jean and Marco because I love Jean. Everyone makes gifs of him and horses, so just go figure that out yourself. But I wanted to talk about Marco because there's this theory in the anime community that Marco isn't dead. That the character that we see who's like bitten in half isn't Marco because it doesn't have freckles on its face. Have you heard anything about that?
I think you've told me about that, which I think that's a cool theory.
Do you think that that's actually a thing?
I'm hoping, but we'll find out. Maybe Marco's a Titan.
I really hope that actually that is not, because I feel like Jean would feel very betrayed. Because, like, the only reason why he, like, joined the Survey Corps and stuff was to, like, protect his Biffle and stuff. Or, like, after his friend died, to be like, no, I'll stand up and do what's right. And so if it turned out that Marco was alive, then I feel like Jean would feel like all that was a lie.
It's true. That'll be tough.
Character development.
Yeah, so if we haven't convinced you already, definitely watch Attack on Titan. It's great. If you're a child, don't watch Attack on Titan. Wait till you're older.
There's lots of blood.
There's lots of blood. It's very scary.
I cried a lot.
It's intense, but I think it's really good. I've heard from the author, from his interviews, that basically his idea behind it was for people like with social anxiety or a lot of other things, the scariest thing about the world is other people. And so that's why he based the Titans and wanted this crazy force that was other people and not really like something else. So I think it's a really interesting concept.
Cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah. And so he was basically like in that psychology, like the scariest thing is other people. And so it's these people who can't be understood. And they just kill you for no reason because it doesn't even feed them. And they don't need to eat you. So it's very scary. So anyways, make sure to follow us on all of our different social networks. We have tons of them. Social networks exist in our thing, in case you're wondering. Also, in the future, Sarah and I will probably be starting YouTube channels, so look out for that. I will probably be doing video gaming stuff because that's my life, and why not do something I already enjoy?
It's true.
Yeah.
And I'll be doing vlogging because I just like to talk about myself, I guess.
Just like to talk about myself. Oh, that's great. No, so definitely look out for those. We'll probably start posting those eventually. If you can find us on YouTube already, good for you.
Good luck.
Good luck with that. We're buried deep in YouTube. So have fun with that. We hope that you guys have an excellent rest of your week. And next week, And hopefully you'll make it just fine until next Friday when our next episode comes out.
All
So
right.
on that note, we're going to say
Peace
peace
out.
out.